Well, the movie begins with sinister images of people committing violence against one another. The video shows beaten and dead bodies on the streets as the rest commit atrocities against one another. The scene changes and we see Jameson driving his car to his family and speaking to his latest client, to whom he had recently sold security equipment. He assures him that all the systems would function perfectly and be locked in tight during the purge. James says hello to his neighbors as he passes his street and watches as they put special flowers known as Blue Baptista on their porch to show their support of the purge. When he finally arrives home, James finds his wife Mary in the kitchen preparing dinner. After sharing a kiss, they talk about how lockdown is in an hour, and James asks about the kids. Mary explains that their oldest daughter Zoe has been sulking all day because James won't let her boyfriend Henry stay with them for the purge and asks him to deal with her attitude. Up in her room, Zoe and Henry were sitting on the floor kissing. Suddenly, they hear her father coming up the stairs and she tells him that he has to leave, apologetic that she can't let him stay because of her father. As he was climbing down her window, they see the neighborhood people sharpening their weapons for the night's event. Outside her house, Mary is stopped by her neighbor Grace, who would come with cookies as they're walking back to their house. Grace appreciates the new security Mary's husband has added to their house and tells her that James had sold to everyone in the neighborhood, explaining jealousy that Mary had a great year. Mary feels strange about what she just heard, assuming that their neighbors begrudged them. Accepting the cookies, Mary walks back to her house after saying goodbye to Grace.
Wait, hold on. Did you subscribe to our channel? Come on guys, you're here, you're watching the video, help us out by hitting the subscribe button as it really helps out me and my team to make more videos for you guys. And now, let's get back to the recap.
And later, the family gathers together to have their dinner and James informs his family excitedly that he's the best at his division for selling upgraded systems and they all cheer him on. And after dinner, the family gets ready for the lockdown and activates all their shelters while sitting in the control room where they watch what happens on the outside with cameras. As the clock strikes the right time, the government issues that the purge has begun and that all crime is legal for 12 hours, and the sirens blare an announcement. Still upset with her father, Zoe decides to go to her room while their younger son, Charlie, asks them why they never participate in the purge. James explains that it was because they didn't feel the need to do it, but they explain that the practice helps people be better by allowing them to have some kind of release. In her room, Zoe was surprised by Henry, who tells her that he snuck in to be with her. Although she was happy to see him, she's frightened that her father will get upset if he finds him there. After the two start to kiss, Henry pulls back and confesses that he had come to her house to speak to her father about the fact that he forbade them from being together. He explains to her that since he won't kick him out, her father would be forced to listen to his plea. While Mary was in the bathroom, she hears gunshots go off and tells James, who assures her that those weapons weren't allowed that night. While Charlie was looking at the monitors, he sees a man running toward the houses, screaming for help. Feeling sorry for the man, Charlie opens the shelter, letting the man inside. Hearing the shelters open, James and Mary rush down the stairs to find Charlie and the strange man standing by the door. James pulls out a gun, but is surprised by Henry, who attempts to kill him by shooting at him. Although James avoids getting shot, Henry was badly hurt and dies on Zoe's bedroom floor. During the shock of the moment, the stranger in the house disappears and they were unable to find him. As they panic about the guy that just disappeared in their house, they discover a group of people outside their house holding various types of weapons. Through their camera, they hear the leader of the group explain that they're well-educated and wealthy people who use the purge to gain release. The man tells them that one of their victims had escaped and they found out from the neighbors that they had given him sanctuary. He tells them that the man they gave sanctuary was nothing but a homeless person who dared to kill one of their own, and he goes on to explain that they need to deliver the man until their provisions arrive, threatening that if they don't, they will purge them as well. As soon as he finishes his warning, the leader had his people cut off their power. Mary asks James whether the murderous group could enter their house, and he goes on to explain that that might be a possibility. Feeling scared for his family, James decides that they need to give the group what they want by forcing out the man despite his son's disposition. With a flashlight in hand, James leaves them in their monitor room and goes out in search of the man. While walking through the hallway, he sees blood smeared on the walls and hears furniture falling. In their hidden room, Mary and Charlie were being terrorized by the murderous group as they threatened them with their weapons and bang at the walls. Still feeling sorry for the man, Charlie uses his motor car to lead the stranger toward a hiding spot where he could potentially be safe. Thinking Charlie would be safe where she left him, Mary goes out holding a gun to search for the stranger in hopes of flushing him out. As he continues to look, James is startled by a knock on the door and the leader of the group yelling that he would like to speak to him. Approaching the front door, James sees the smug young man through the small opening, who politely thanks him for agreeing to speak to him. While doing so, one of the members of the group loses his cool and begins to aggressively yell at James, telling him to deliver the homeless man immediately. Annoyed by his friend's behavior, the leader shoots his friend in the head without exhibiting any remorse. Turning his attention back to James, he tells him that the man he killed was his friend and that he would do worse to James and his family if they didn't promptly deliver the homeless man. While hiding in the monitor room, Charlie was startled when Zoe gets in front of the camera on his remote car, knowing that her brother always uses it. Looking at the camera, she expresses her confusion about what's happening, and after telling him to stay where he is, she tells him that she's gonna hide in his secret spot. Zoe was shocked because she knew that he led the stranger there so he could be safe, and continuing his search, James turns a corner in his house and is shocked to see the homeless man holding his daughter at gunpoint. Threatening him with Zoe's life, he asks him to drop the gun, and refusing to do so because he saw his wife coming behind the threatening stranger, James tells the man that he's gonna die that night and to leave his family out of it. Suddenly, the homeless man realizes that Mary was behind him and pushes Zoe against the wall, giving James an opening to tackle him. Managing to overwhelm the man and hit him with a vase, he turns around and tells his wife that they need to tie up the man and get him out of the house immediately. Putting their unconscious daughter on the couch, James and Mary tape up the stranger, getting him ready for the murderous group. When James tries to put the man on a chair, he begins to flail around, forcing James to hold him down, while Mary unwillingly stabs him in the abdomen with a letter opener. Witnessing the horrible act, Charlie was traumatized and begs his mom to stop. While James ties him back to the chair, Mary feels guilty about what they were doing to the man, but James is adamant about saving his family. Seeing her panicking, James tries to calm down his wife, who was agitated about their action, and makes him feel guilty. While they were talking, Mary notices that Charlie had gone away and goes to look for him, and meanwhile, James begins to think about what his wife had said, but is suddenly shocked back into reality when he sees that his daughter is awake. When he tries to make sure that she was okay, she tells him that nothing could ever be the same again because of everything that just happened, and when James and the homeless man were left alone, the stranger, who had managed to get the tape loose from his mouth, felt guilty and told James to save his family by taking him outside. And while looking for her son, Mary notices that the cavalry of the group had arrived with reinforcements and were ready to get the defenses on the house open. Panicking, she tells James that he was right about sending the homeless man outside, but he disagrees with her, telling her that he has another idea. After giving Charlie a gun and telling him to hide in the basement, James tells his wife that they're going to stand their ground and fight. As they got ready with their guns, the couple heard the leader of the group announce that their time was over and that he was disappointed that they couldn't deliver the homeless man before having his friends with large trucks pull down the shields. Seeing their last defense was gone, James and Mary took their stance in the corner, and after looking at each other with love and determination, the two head out of their posts, with James staying on the front and Mary going to cover the back. While hiding in the basement, Charlie was startled by one of the masked murderers and gets dragged out from his hiding spot. Before the man had a chance to shoot Charlie, James comes to his rescue and shoots him in the head. Grabbing his son, he rushes him out of the room, and Zoe, who was hiding under her bed, hears the leader of the group call to one of his friends and compliments her. While searching around the house, James encounters two members and manages to shoot the woman while smashing the man's head into glass. After facing off another opponent, James enters another brutal fight but wins with close encounter. Thinking that he was safe for the moment, he tries to continue to search the house but was stabbed by the leader of the group. Gently laying him down on the ground, the leader asks James if the homeless man's life was worth his own. He then leaves James on the ground and walks away after thanking him for the unforgivable purge. The rest of the murderous group continue to wreak havoc on the house and break the photographs on the wall. In the monitor room, Charlie notices two of their neighbors head over to their house and shoot the assailants by their door. While walking around in her house with a gun in hand, Mary was ambushed by two members of the group, almost being decapitated, but she's saved by her neighbors. Getting up, she rushes toward her husband, who was bleeding out by the stairs, and she begins to care for him. After Charlie joins them, the leader of the group tries to shoot the family, but is stopped by Zoe, who had finally come out of hiding. The family is united and was glad to see their neighbors, who've undoubtedly saved their lives. Mary was grateful for their assistance and begins to thank Grace, who was standing in front of them next to her husband. But looking smug, Grace tells Mary that she shouldn't thank them because they hadn't saved their lives. Dragging the now passed out James, who they assumed was dead, Grace decides that she was going to kill Mary's family right where they sat on the stairs. Fighting for her children's life, Mary asks Grace why they were doing this, and the blonde woman explains that they hated her family because they made a lot of money from them and stuck it in their faces. And even despite her incessant begging, Grace and her group refuse to listen, getting ready to purge Mary's family. But before they could stab the family to death, the homeless man that they showed mercy to appears out of nowhere with a gun in hand and shoots two of the men while holding the others at gunpoint. Although he was ready to kill the rest, Mary stops him, telling him that she only wants to spend the rest of the night in peace. And once the purge was over, Mary lets the four remaining neighbors go home after breaking Grace's nose after she attempted to take her gun. She then thanks the homeless man for saving their lives before he too leaves their house. And at the end of the movie, Mary and her children stand by the door, mourning the loss of James, and the news concludes that it was the most successful purge yet. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap. Make sure to leave me a like, leave a comment, also subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye!